So today's the age-old question. A house is for sale. I might or might not have an agent. Smarter if I do. Why isn't it selling? In my head, it should be selling, and it should be selling a certain way, at a certain speed, in a certain fashion. It's obviously not happening. Today, we're going to talk through it. We're going to talk about what our perceptions are, how maybe we're too close to the problem, and how we're going to get through it. You never think this is going to happen to you, but sometimes you've just got a listing or you own a house that simply will not sell. Your seller is going to keep asking you, why is my house not selling? You're going to want to share as many reasons as you can. The good thing is that there are many reasons why a house isn't selling or is selling slowly. It is not an issue of price. So before you panic and massively reduce the price, I want you to listen and I want you to learn today about some of the other challenges that you really might be facing that could make this a whole lot easier. Here in Florida, we have a strained market. Not because of clients, strictly because we can't build houses fast enough and at a price point that people want to be able to move in quickly. So we have a slower than normal market from purchase to ownership, simply because we don't have enough houses available. And believe me, that's fixed overnight by the resale market, not by the builders. The builders can still only build a house so fast, design, permit, get approved, allow for residency. That process is never going to get any faster. In fact, the houses that are built faster have a tendency to have more problems. So what I would prefer you to do is concentrate on a really secure foundation, neighborhood, community, township, town, area of Florida where you know you've got good quality residents, good quality people, good quality future for homeowners to move into that area. Focus on it. Make it your niche. Make it the reason that is the place that you want to sell houses. And customers, that's the reason that you want to follow an agent into that community. So let's first talk about the obvious. Below par home features. Studies say that around 60% of all of the owner-occupied homes in the United States were built before 1980. That's a pretty decent aging for the housing market. Some states have even older than that. Florida is right about the U.S. average, right about 1980s, the biggest contributor to our housing. New York State, for example, has a median age of about 63 years old. So many of these older homes have very different features than the modern home, and it's going to slow down buyers because they're features that they don't want anymore. Smaller bedrooms, not a primary bathroom, lower ceilings, one-car garages. These are all factors that can cause a buyer to pass on a perfectly good listing without even visiting it, without even giving it the visibility that it deserves. Sometimes newer homes with contractor grade materials are a little harder to sell than character homes with unique features. It is very difficult. It is a much harder sell to convince a new buyer that you could go into a resale home, make some modifications later that modernize it, make it your own, update some garage space, improve some rooms, move a few walls around. Nobody traditionally wants to walk into a home where they've got to do some repairs, much less some major modifications to get a modernization effort into play. That said, there are still ways to fix these problems and make it quick. From an agent's perspective, if the listing isn't selling, you need to take the time to take a look at the house through the eyes of today's buyer. That's your job. Your understanding of perception of the current buyer in the market is almost as great as your understanding of what the home is and how you're supposed to sell the product. But when features of the house are not today's standards or today's expectation, in some cases, sellers simply can't correct these items through quick updating or even renovation. But if the homeowner is willing to change some very specific and problematic features, agents can always come up with a creative solution to help them get through it quicker, simply to change the look and feel of a house. It's the understanding of going credit versus compensation if they're not willing to do the repairs themselves. So lots of specific issues out there. We want to make sure that we are having a nice, adjustable conversation, but only if the house is having trouble showing. If it's simply a perception of time, let's slow the client down and make sure they understand that giving it more time might save you a little money on the front end. But simple modernization work inside the house, a little bit of reno, a little bit of updating on that kitchen, maybe a new bathroom countertop and sink, might be all it takes for somebody to walk in and go, I like this house. I like that we can do some simple updates and we can make this house our own. Let's buy it. It could be bigger than that. Could be some glaring conditions, and you need to be ready to client accept that you've got some obvious problems. And if you were buying the house again, you might not have bought it if this was in the way. Agents got to be ready to have that honest conversation. The transparency that you can give the client, it's not about confrontation. It's not about getting the client upset. It's not about, I don't want to put my client in a position where they might have to spend money, because if they've lived in the home for long enough, they knew they had to spend the money. You're just going to be the voice of truth, the voice of reality. But if a potential home looks like it might work for a buyer, many buyers are going to simply avoid it because they don't want to put in the effort. So let's talk about some of these small maintenance tasks. They can add up. Flaky paint, dead lawn, worn out carpeting. Larger, more noticeable issues like awkward property features or dated plumbing or electrical work can also make the selling really, really difficult. But like we talked about last week, by you simply going in and putting a fresh coat of paint, making sure those baseboards are clean, if you've got some busted doors or if you've got some scratches from an animal living there comfortably with you, fix them before you put it on the market or as soon as you put it on the market, so that clients see that you're already willing to do the updating and the feature corrections that are necessary to polish the apple. You should not have your apple on the same shelf as everybody else, and you be the only one that's got some bruises and some dings on it. Heck, some of these houses out here look like they've got a bite taken out of them. You want to be honest with yourself and be honest with your real estate agent. When we're working together, it's a partnership. We've got skin in the game just like you. We're paying for all of this additional marketing and photography and level setting with these clients. We're spending the time and the energy running around and talking to these other real estate agents, which certainly isn't something you want to be doing yourself. Help us fix the problem. In some really extreme cases, issues like this are going to even prevent the property from being lendable. So you certainly don't want to put the FHA or the VA in a situation where they're putting you on notice saying these following repairs must be done before we even consider putting a loan against it for this potential buyer. So how do you fix it? What do you do about it? First off, a homeowner and a real estate agent need to start the process with a meeting. It needs to be an open discussion where the issues and the necessary repairs that the first-time realtor sees when they walk in there with fresh eyes, it's going to be a punch list of things that if we really want to compete well in today's market, here are some things we should do. Heads up, kids. Realtor.com and Zillow.com are not going to walk into your house and give you this level of service. I hate to be the big blinding light in the room, but come on, kids. Stop it. You can't do this yourself. You can't do it without a real estate agent, and you're not going to do it with one of the online systems out there that is never going to walk into your property. So let's buck up, campers. Pay these people what they've earned. They will earn it, and you can track the services that they're providing, and let's treat them like the professionals they deserve. Certainly, if an agent's not doing their job, because we're not all created equal, you should have an honest discussion with them. You are employing them, but they don't get a nickel if that house doesn't sell. So listen to them. They are experts in their field, and 99% of them truly want to get the house sold. So pay attention. Don't make everything a conflict, and let that way it's equal on both sides for us to be able to help each other. A realtor should clearly describe how specific issues are going to prevent your home from selling, and make recommendations for the repairs, the renovations, and maybe even home staging. Their job is not to do all of the subcontracting to get this accomplished for you. Please note, we are not to get out of our lane. We are not lawyers. We are not inspectors. We are not appraisers. We are not general contractors. Please don't put us in a position where we're going to have to do this work with you or for you. We can't do it, and we're not going to give you the quality of work that you need. That said, we do have a huge concierge list, as we call it here at Keystone, of great vendors that we have worked with in the past, but you need to be patient with them as well. They're busy. And if they're not busy now, come hurricane season in Florida, that is easy work, and it's emergency work that they need to do first. You may not get prioritized quickly. Hey, quick little mention to my buddy Stitch. What's up, brother? Keep doing what you're doing. It is great to see a young person like yourself doing well on the internet. And just want to say that in the real estate business, we're appreciating all the extra humor you're bringing to our day as well. Let's get back to topic. Poor pricing and high fees. There's an obvious one. Let's get down to it. Here comes the money conversation. Another one of the most common reasons for a house not selling is simple. Follow the money. Overpricing a property, my realtor friends, my FSBO sellers, overpricing that property can turn you away and turn away good buyers and create a listing that will sit on the market without consistent showings faster than anything. On the other hand, sometimes sellers and agents don't really consider the additional fees when they set a price for a home. Homeowners association fees need to be a contributing factor to when you're doing your pricing. You need to pay attention to that. The interest rates on the market today, the interest rates are a big deal, and you can use them to your advantage, Mr. Seller. Agent, pay attention. Here's a big pro tip. If they have an assumable mortgage already on this property, and they bought this property when interest rates were probably much lower, feel free to call the bank. And if it's not assumable already, maybe they're willing to put in an adjusting addendum to allow it to be assumable so that the person that comes in and qualifies can take over that mortgage. The mortgage transfers into their name, and the bank will give them a really good deal to do the finance work on the remaining balance. Homeowners fees, interest rates, closing costs, things like that are all going to be expenses. These are factors that will affect the buyer's purchase power and ultimately the home's appeal. It doesn't matter how great a property you have if the new homeowner can't afford the community that you live in. If the HOA fees and the extra assessments that are in that community are going to be too much, or it's adding $300 to $500 additional a month towards their total PITI payment. If you want to know what that's all about, guys, I've got another Tell Me All About the Lending lesson coming up. You definitely want to catch that. I'm going to have a guest speaker with us so that you can hear from the lender side of the house, because I stay in my lane, how effective it is for us to be able to work together throughout this transaction. And from the lender's perspective, some additional things that you can do to help yourself as a buyer. But let me give you a quick example, right? If the interest rate's at 5.25, the P&I per every $1,000 financed is about, $5.50. If the home's in a special tax district and the taxes are an additional $100 a month spread out over the year, just like other similar homes in the area, the buyer's purchasing power just got reduced.